Minasan konnichiwa. Salam alaikum. Welcome to another interesting episode of the Am I Streaming or Am I Dreaming podcast. Thank you so much for the positive support. And today I'm trying something a bit different. I don't have a guest, but I need to make a rebuttal to the Fresh and Fit podcast. And there's something very particular they say in it that Kevin Samuels also said that men built the world you live in. Now, it's a really cool podcast, and I really want to balance out what I'm saying in that I agree with a lot of what they say, but I also disagree with certain points. So I'm going to start off with a rebuttal, but then I'm going to lead into 10 things I actually do like that they're doing. So it's kind of balanced. Their channel is really blowing up. So a reaction video like this is quite mandatory. But back to the agenda. Now, the term or statement that they say that the patriarchy leads, I strongly disagree with, because if you look at the world we live in today, it was built by a very select group of men, if we say. The patriarchy does lead, but the matriarchy supports, if I could call it like that. And this idea that there is men versus women structure, I think is not sustainable, and any successful society hasn't worked like that. Generally, both genders need to work together. I know it sounds crazy, right? And that the idea of acknowledging a supportive structure that a lot of particularly women, mostly women, play is often neglected when they mention that point that the world was built today by men. Men run the world, and no, a very select few majority of men, very select few of the elite, and the majority of them happen to be male. But a lot of again, select few women have led incredible supportive roles and held together families and helped legacies continue. And, you know, they have been a bit selective to make sure they haven't brought on someone who's going to really give them, you know, uh, and really disprove a lot of their points. So again, I'm more on the side of honesty, and I'll acknowledge their good points as well. But I'm going to start off with my rebuttal, because again, it's the hot topic, and it's easy for views. And the biggest thing about their particular podcast, even though they've done a lot of amazing things well, women are the reason for a lot of their major success. And, there has been, again, a mutual benefit. I'm not saying they have exploited anyone. No, it's not the case at all. But particularly women, have helped build their podcast up to the fame they're getting and this viral sort of content. And, women have been, very graciously, helping them make such, interesting content. And the emotional aspects of their show, women have been involved in it. Those emotional scenes that the YouTube algorithm loves, and those amazing thumbnails, like, women have played a massive, massive, massive part. And that leads into also further debunking the idea that men built the world you live in. No, the particular hypergamous nature has helped women pick winners. Women have helped pick very successfully. It's not perfect, but it's been working for this time. A lot of the men who are really going to take things forward, and money, and also women in the lifestyle have also helped push business people to do great things, engineers to build great things, sportsmen to play a harder game. It's Women have played a very crucial role in that, and society as it was would not exist without women's contribution. And just going on, if you look at women in Hollywood, women in music, women in science, again, a very select few men and also a very select few women have helped build the world that we live in. And another thing I like about the Fresh and Fit podcast is that they use analogies and examples. So the hot topic that I've been following lately is this Occupy Mars. Now I want you to sit back and imagine if how boring Mars would be without OnlyFans content. Let's just think about that for a second. Now imagine if OnlyFans sponsors a trip to Mars for a very select few baddies, and you get to be on the Mars colony with a certain amount of baddies. Just imagine how many more engineers, builders, business people, managers would be, amped to go, and how much more exciting the trip would be. That colony would be built so much faster, and it would look so much more amazing if we have the right baddies to motivate everyone. So again, women help build the world that we live in. So it's such an important thing. Even if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's something deep and innate in a lot of men, which is why we pursue dating so relentlessly. Is you're compelled to find love, to find family. As much as success is important, the reason why you want to get the success is so that you can eventually carry on your legacy. Because again, you can take success to the grave, but at least if you've built a family and something other, it can last a bit longer. And I know it may sound very counterintuitive that I'm so focused on, their sort of content, because I do agree with a lot of what they say, that you should be on your purpose, you should chase these things and not chase love so much. But then eventually, once you have those things, you can now be in a much better place to find a lot of this love and, validation that you're craving. So you kind of get it by not needing it. But needing it can, block you from getting it. If um, that is my main sort of point. The other rebuttal I have for the Fresh and Fit podcast is even though I agree with a lot of what they say, there's some very amateurish things that they say. And there was one particular episode where I think Fresh was asked about the love languages, and he sort of just dismissed the idea, like, no, I'm just going to do my thing, doesn't matter. And the other one where the roommates were on the podcast, and Fit mentioned uh, him sliding in the DMs to a fitness influencer, inviting her to a show, and not doing platonic relationships. And like, no, I'm sorry, you need to take an L on that one. That was amateurish game. That could have been done so much better. And other YouTubers have said it. And again, that's amateurish. Like, and I agree, we're all on a journey, we're all learning and we're all growing, but yeah, that could have been handled so much better. But yeah, that's pretty much my rebuttal. But just to balance it out, I'm going to give you 10 things that I do like so much about their particular podcast. Now, they've made some very entertaining and emotional content where, when they do their sort of frank castling, that's an important skill, which, for the longest time I was lacking. I didn't know um, or really see it there live and executed. Rest in peace, Patrice O'Neill. But he also mentioned sometimes taking your toys and leaving if the game is not in your favor, end the game. And to actually see live examples of it, and even seeing the consequences and seeing the way Fit actually dealt with it, that is admirable. That I was like full on. You need to end these situations before they get that bad, and we must de-escalate and quickly um, get problematic people out of your lives. And that is a lovely example of seeing it happen live on air. So that is admirable. That I'll give them. That is something that I think was good. I do like they do say the things that a lot of people are afraid to say, and you see where you stand with them straight on. And the fact that they do live shows is such a smart workflow to actually get content out. The investment into the studio, the soundboard, him actually taking notes as these things are going on, shows how serious he takes, or both of them, how serious they take what they're doing. And it's inspiring to see something like that, and it really makes content that resonates with me. At least now, my YouTube diet is a lot less fun and games and pranks, and I'm very interested in what people are saying and what people are thinking. And mindset is, has been such a crucial thing this time. So that is something I like a lot about the Fresh and Fit podcast. Their attention to memes, the whole gag they do with the cap, like, hilarious. The stuff with the ninja watches, it's memeable. It's really cool. The Vice City theme, the whole color palettes. I find it so relatable because I'm also a sort of video game sort of kid. I did play Vice City, and it was an aesthetic. It was really cool. The second thing that I like is the content really helps me make sense of the world through making sense of history and also contemporary stuff. There are a lot of relatable truths, and it's a very quotable show, simple and quotable. Average women don't want average men. Yep, true. Sorry, you know, no one else has said it, but now they're saying it and making it mainstream and letting you know ahead of time. You don't want to aim for the average. Always aim to be above. Always put in more. There is a burden of performance, and there's no feel good nonsense. There's a lot of truth in that show, and these were things I wish I could have known sooner. And I like how there's also a lot of content. There's a lot for a person who likes to consume a lot. Knowledge is addictive. And there's a lot of authentic slice of life vlogs that they do, which I like. That it's not there isn't an emphasis on fakeness and a lot of cap. I really like the emphasis on that. The third thing I like is the production value, and they're constantly growing, constantly improving. And I started following them when it was like the Gaines podcast with Myron Gaines, and I first saw them off of Rolo Tomasi's content, and I just followed along, and I saw that they're all part of the whole sort of community, and to really see their growth has been well done. That is outstanding. It's all part of the YouTube dream that we're chasing. The fourth thing I like is particularly Fitz conversational skills, his ability to listen and make concise, solid points. Chef's kiss, awesome. That is stunning. It is a skill is constantly developing, and it's something I'm hoping to learn too, fellow podcasters out there. The fifth thing I like is the emphasis on standing up for yourself and having standards, rules, self discipline, and disciplining your environment. And they are a great example of you leading your own life to where you want it to go. And that is a life skill, which I feel in education, they have tried to say it, but they have a very amazing example of it. The number six thing I like is the interesting guests with stories. And I like the way that they can draw very good points from, the amazing things their guests can say. And their episodes are almost like a case study of ways you need to conduct yourself and things you may experience in life. And it was content which, if I could have found when I was younger, could have had a very, very amazing benefit. The number seven thing I like is the emphasis on self improvement, financial improvement, spiritual, physical. I feel it is all related. And they're all part of the infinity stones you need to acquire for your gauntlet. So again, amazing, amazing points to add. The eighth thing I like is they show us more about Miami and New York and American markets, and it's quite insightful because there's so many things I can relate to other metropolitan cities and other little things. And it's a topic on this podcast I hope to delve in more and get real life examples of cool things I'd love to share. The ninth thing is their emphasis on routine, consistency, variety, collaboration, their ancillary things like merchandise. I really like it all. And I think it really comes across as a nice professional product in total. This is the Fresh and Fit podcast. We've got merch, we've got Patreon, we've got this, we've got this, we've got this. It as a brand in total. I really like what they're doing now. The 10th thing is for me quite personal in that it's nice to see brown brothers coming up. You've got Fresh, you've got Fit, you've got Christian, you've got Trey. And my understanding of YouTube at the time was only a very certain group of people could really come up on YouTube or could really do well on podcasts. And to actually see a lot of stereotypes being debunked, like, they're not rappers, they're not really doing comedy videos. They have a swag about them, but they're really showing that you can be of brown skin color and be intellectual and lead and actually make a quality professional product. Even though I am guilty of winning a gold medal at the Struggle Olympics, to see something done so well and so professional, and fit being African as well, like guys shine on, and they're really helping to debunk a lot of issues brown people face, and taking on investment mindset, and especially when you've come from a place with sort of hurt confidence, defeatist mentality. It's nice to see them pushing something positive and seeing growth, viral growth, and growing more and more. And I hope they can inspire more people to sort of get us out of the rut that we're in. And despite my rebuttals previously, I agree with a lot of what they say, even despite the things that I don't. And I think I have one more. One more. I wouldn't call it a rebuttal, but just a topic I'd really love to discuss. And if ever they see something like this, I almost wonder, what would you say to, not everyone can be alpha, or that you can't have too many alphas? Because if you just look through history, alphas in the past generally didn't live very long. Guys who were really good at fighting, just think about it. Floyd Mayweather, the human skull is harder than the human fist. If you punched a person enough times, or you throw enough punches, your arm is going to break. And in those days, they didn't have arm surgeons and that kind of thing. You could sort of heal, but if you got into a certain amount of fights, you weren't going to live very long, or you weren't going to have a very good quality of life. And we see it as well, even in animals. The alpha lion has a parabolic, shout out to Puppy, yeah? Parabolic rise, parabolic fall. And it's almost like every car can't be a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, even though we may aspire to. Only a select few can even sustain that sort of life, and then it's crash and burn from there. So I like this idea of, like, yeah, guys, be alpha, alpha mentality. But the reality is, the majority of people, I feel, they can improve and they can inspire to do better. But this idea that I'm going to be super alpha, I think only a very select few. And it's gotten better now these days, that there are more support mechanisms, and, the miracles like the internet that can really keep us going. But I think back in the day, alpha guys lived a riskier life. I doubt they could, last very long. So, it's a topic I want to discuss more. And again, please comment below, share your thoughts. Let me know. Am I also full of trash? Do you agree with my views, or do you disagree? Let me know. Let's get a very respectful conversation going. And the thing about competition and disagreement and rebuttals is, it helps improve a community, and it adds a lot more diversity, diverse opinions. And I really think this sort of, Donovan Sharp called it the sapphire tablet. It really it really makes it evolve and strengthens a lot of points, and it really helps the ones who are speaking the truth shine more, and really strengthen what they're doing. And it's always important to know where people stand. And again, shout out to Fresh and Fit. If I haven't shouted them out enough, is that this episode is clearly going to blow up, because they are they're growing, and everyone sort of has to share their 2 cents about them, and it only makes them stronger. And I'm going to give you guys a bit of a bonus. For this episode, I'm going to add a little bit of a story time as well. And it's quite an emotional story, but what is there a better time than now to share it? And it was the 3 times I completely SIMP'd out, got my official imp card. These 3 particular moments, and they really, I've been ruminating about them so much lately, and just watching the Fresh and Fit podcast and all the things they mention, I could have avoided these situations. Now, the first one kind of occurred when I was 19 at the time, way back when, as we walked on memory lane. And I I met I met a very very interesting lady, I'll say, off of a cold approach. And that time I was big into like PUA content. Like this is just a reveal all. I'm just gonna say it all. And the place I worked at the time, I worked at okay, I don't want to give away too many details. I worked at like it was like a shopping mall, and after work, um, I would just walk and I'd approach people, and I was sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but it was, the gift of the gab was something I really wanted to learn. Um, and one day I made an approach. There was a lady. She was wearing a it was a top hat, and she loved arts and crafts, and it was a top hat where she had decorated it with bubblegum wrappers, called Chappie. It looked really cool. So I and she looked stunning. So I had to go up to her and just like say, "Hey, I really like your hat. May I have a look at it?" And she she smiled and she was like, "Sure, you can take a look." I was like, "Oh wow!" So I gave it back to her, and she was with like five other friends, so I didn't want to be. Uh, I don't know how to put it. I didn't. I was a bit shy, and I was like, "No, I need to isolate her." But I left it, and I said, "You know what? I'll see you around." And I continued my walk and spoke to a few other people, and eventually I saw them again. And I was like, "Ah, man!" I'd hype myself up internally. Hype up. I have to get her number. I have to get her number. But I have to get her away from her friends to get her number. So what I did is I saw her again, and I think she recognized me. And I said, "Oh wow, I can't get over this hat. This hat is so amazing." So I put her hat on her head, and I slowly inched away. And I said, "Oh," and obviously she had to get up and come get me to get her hat back. And I said, "Oh, before I leave though, and you take your hat, I must get your number." So I took my phone out, and I got her number, and I was like, smooth, 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 smooth. And don't worry, the story leads to a good place. Don't worry, I'm gonna keep going. And I think a week later, I think I sent her a text and I didn't get a reply. And I figured, oh man, I was so into her. Why didn't she reply? Then I checked the number and it was a digit short. So I was like, oh flop. I guess this is going nowhere. So I figured, what are my odds? Let me just try find out the missing digit, if it even is correct. And I thought, they're like nine numbers. No, they're 10 numbers, 0 to 9, that the missing digit could have been. And I figured, okay, I'm just going to try all of them. And I figured I'm just going to phone. So I sent a funny text. I didn't get a reply. So I figured I'll just phone and see what was up. So I phoned. I think I first added a 0 to the number, phoned, nothing. This number does not exist. Okay. Then I put a 1, called. It went to someone else. Hello, can I speak to so and so and so and so? And they're like, no, this person doesn't exist. Okay, cool. 2 down, nothing. Second one, call, ring, 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 ring. She picks up. I hear her voice. Oh, how have you been? I met you 2 weeks ago. And she was like so happy to speak to me. And we spoke for a good 20 minutes. We're talking about arts and crafts. And I'm like, it's meant to be. Fate, believe, positive thinking, all of that, all of that. The story's wild. And I was like, oh, we should watch a movie sometime. Yeah, I know. My game was weak then, because I was 19. What can I do? And she's like, yeah, yeah, we should hang out. Yeah, good, good. Yeah. Cool. I didn't set a day or a time. We just said one day we would watch a movie on the weekend. And I think she ended up flaking, didn't even come. And but the way I handled it really caught her attention. She apologized that she flaked, and I sent her a message saying, I really thought about this one. Those days I was on my creative tip, poet. I'll write like the most incredible text messages. And what did I say to her? I said, "Oh, my dear, whatever shall I do with you? Feed you to the rabbits, I suppose." And this came in later. Like why this text here is so hard is okay, I'll tell you why at the end. But this particular text, it had an effect when I was just like, "Oh, my dear, whatever shall I do with you? Feed you to the rabbits, I suppose." Like even when I thought about it, I was like, poet about this stuff. And Eventually, some weeks later, I got a message from her asking me to join her at a rock concert called Opi Kopi. Now, Opi Kopi, if you know any Dutch, it's like the top of the hill, if we could call it that. That's the name of this music festival. Absolutely legendary music festival, and it is. You have to drive quite out to a bit of the more rural part of SA, and it's like 3 days of just debauchery. It's almost like Oktoberfest or yeah, you get the idea. It's a big rock concert, and I didn't know if I should go or not. I'd ask some of my other homies in the PUA community, and I'd be like, "Hey guys, should I go? Should I not go? I don't really know." And they told me, "Look, if a girl invites you to go with her to Opikopi, you must go." And I'd recently gotten my driver's license, but I didn't have a car. So I told her, "Hey, sounds cool. I've got my driver's license, but I don't have a car." She's like, "No, don't worry about it. I'm gonna go with my other friends. Why don't you join in? We've got an extra seat, and you can chip in for gas." That time, I'm like, "What? Opi Kopi? This is gonna be an adventure." Now, I was young that time. I had no idea to see red flags. I had no idea how to lead or set a frame. I didn't set up this date. If it even was a date, massive red flag. I wasn't leading. I was going to a venue I could not control with so many other people there. Red flags, and I couldn't see these red flags. Now, if I'd been watching the Fresh and Fit podcast, I would have known better. But again, 19, I didn't know. So I'm like, sure, I pack my little bags, my little sport bag. I tell my parents I'm gonna go to a rock concert with friends. I didn't know anyone there, by the way, and I'd only met this lady once. So I packed my things, and I had my little job, and I went to like I bought lots of fast fashion. I'm like, yeah, I gotta get my swag up, dress up, bought all my little accessories, planned out my outfits for the days. Didn't know which artists were playing, but I said, okay, I'm gonna go to Opi Kopi. Yeah. So I go to her house. I asked my brother to drop me off at her house, and then I see her again, and shorty looking good, bruh. Shorty looking good. She was wearing some clown pants though, but this is how hot she was. She could dress goofy. She still looked bad, bruh. Wow, bro. So I see her, and like the response is good, bro. I'm like, oh snap. She's there. She's looking at me. She's smiling. Is that you? Is that you? Yeah, yeah, girl. We're gonna go to this rock concert. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. Meet the parents. Parents are all good. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go with her. And they're her other two friends who are driving, and I'm like the oldest one there. I'm 19. They're 18, and I think she was 16 at the time. And I'm the oldest one there. And I'm like, oh, interesting. And they mentioned that good thing you've got a driver's license, because the guy driving only had his learner's license, right? I know, high risk. I was crazy then. Now I don't do such things. And to legally drive that distance, you needed somebody with their driver's license. So I had a driver's license, and I guess that's why I was invited to go along. Red flag, red flag. Okay, cool. So we get into the car, and I chip in for gas, and we're driving road trip, and the car is so full of like camping gear that there's almost like a barrier between me and her, because we're sitting at the back, the two homies are in the front, and I even made a dubstep CD, a mix for the trip, because I was all about prepare. I wanted this trip to go well, so I cut a CD. We're going, bro. We're on this trip. We're going. Vibes, man, vibes. Chatting, and that time, I was on my P-way stuff. I knew how to have a good conversation, and the other two guys though were so amped for this trip, because they're like, "Yo, man, I'm gonna be so many girls there. We're gonna hook up with so many girls. It's gonna be amazing." And she started feeling uncomfortable the more they started talking about sexual stuff, and I'm just trying to play it off and just be cool, like, "No, guys, no need to force it, just be chill." So eventually we get to the campsite. Amazing trip though. Like, I'm just like, yo, be smooth, be smooth. And we get to the rock festival at night. So we left in the afternoon, and I think it was like a 6 hour drive. And I'm just like, build rapport, vibe out. This is the most time I've like spent with this girl, and I'm just like hyped on the fact that I just got her number like 4 weeks ago, and previously she flaked on a date, but now I've got her here, and I'm like amped. I'm like, yo, yo, and she looking fly, goofy little, clown pants. But I'm like, hey, it's all good, bro. And we get to the campsite at night, and the guys that want to set up camp. Now, I've never been camping ever, but it's like, yeah, let me help, be proactive. And she's like, oh, her plan, didn't have my own plan. Her plan is her brother was already at this festival. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Her brother and her ex boyfriend, they had a campsite that she wanted to go to. I only found out this as we got to the festival, 6 hour drive, right? And it's nighttime, and he's not picking up his phone. And this was before the time of WhatsApp. So you had to actually make phone calls or SMSs, and her brother's phone was off. And I'm just there like, because I didn't want to push it like, yo, are you dating me? Are you not? I was just like, fine, good vibes, good vibes, good vibes, right? So she doesn't want to stay at this campsite. So I agreed to walk with her to find where her brother is. And, she's 16, I'm 19. People are drunk. There's no light, and we're just walking by from campsite to campsite. And she comes closer to me, and then I hold her hand, and she holds it back. And every time like something weird happens, she comes closer to me. Now, I was still young at this time. I was like, I had no idea how to make a move, and this was my very, very small window of opportunity. But I was like, I wasn't trying to push it too much, because again, I didn't want it to be like, yeah, I'm here to hook up with you, what is this? I was just like, no, play chilled, be chilled. When the moment is right, I'll make my move. And I left it. Now, flop on my part, right? But hey, we're young and we learn. We listen to Fresh and Fit podcast and we learn. So eventually, I don't know how we find her brother's tent. We just tried everywhere and everywhere till eventually we found him. And he's even younger than her. He's like 15, she's 16. And I'm like, oh, snap. And her ex boyfriend is there. And I think he's 20. And I think she had some kind of beef with her ex boyfriend. So she had me there just to, rub it in his face. And I'm there and I'm just chatting to the guy, like, who's this? I don't know, I'm just a homie, just this, because I didn't want to force issues. So we're there, right? And I'm like, let me just enjoy the music. Let me not be so focused on her. Let me vibe out. But this situation is already a flop from, then. But I'm like, yeah, just vibe out, just enjoy it. It's not my music scene at all, but I'm just like blend in vibe. It's all fun. And her ex boyfriend is the one leading, right? Fail. But I'm like, keep going. And I'm feeling this chick big time, bro. And she's just putting me through this gauntlet, and I'm doing stuff for her. And I think that's how she got me trapped and pot committed. But it started failing from there. So then eventually, I think she goes off with her other girlfriends who are also at this festival, and then her girlfriends started hooking up with other guys, and she disappears with them. Who knows what happened? And I'm there with her brother, who's 15. And I'm like, oh, I'll be responsible. Let me take care of her brother. And she's off getting lit, drinking. And I don't drink, I don't smoke. I'm just there like, hey, let me just explore this festival, walk around. And then other girls wanted to chat to me, but I was so focused on this girl that I was like, nah, I wasn't really chatting to them. I was just like, nah, man, listen to the music, groove out, have fun. And that was, I believe, day one or day two of the festival. It was a 3-day festival. I think we got there on day one at night. Day two, party till like 1 a.m. I get back to the tent and I find her there sleeping. So, I cuddle up next to her. She sees me, she smiles. I also smile. She's like, tired. I'm also tired and I'm dusty. And my brother's there too. We're just there all cuddling for warmth and oppy copy. And I'm like, day three, I better make my move, bro. Day three, I better be smooth, bro. Because now it's crunch time. Now it's the fourth quarter. So in day three, early morning, she disappears on her own mission. And I'm just there twiddling my thumbs. And I'm like, oh, hectic. Guess this is a flop. Day goes on. I'm chatting to people, vibing, exploring, the music. The Opi Kopi Festival is incredible, just by the way. And I get a text from her, and my battery is almost dead at this time. And she's like, hey, where are you? I'm at this point. So I'm like, okay, I'll come there. Flop. Wasn't leading anything. I go up to her and she's buzzy. She's been drinking. And I'm trying to dance with her. I'm trying to sit with her. And I'm like, I have to make my move now. It's crunch time. I have to get that kiss, man. Trying to act all flirty, try to get that kiss. She's like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom. So she goes to the bathroom and she disappears. I don't see her for the next 5 hours. Ditches me there live. And we go back eventually. And she always just kept me at a distance. She never let me get too close after that. Eventually, I moved and we got out of contact. I cut her off. I cut her off, and I was like, man, what a waste, man. What a complete waste. And that's when I got my imp card for not leading. And that was one particular story. The second one, so similar, and they behave so similar, and there are patterns of behavior to these stories that I also picked up. And I was in Japan at the time, and it was the Jamaica festival. These music festival chicks, bro. I'm seeing a pattern here as I tell the story. It was the Jamaica Music Festival in Japan, and I met one lady from Texas, and the way I met her is also just a terrible, massive red flag. A red flag I didn't see. She was there with one guy who I thought was her boyfriend, but wasn't. Her gay male best friend, and she was twerking on every single guy at this party. And I thought, no, I'm gonna be smooth. I'm gonna not let her twerk on me. I'm gonna invite her out to pizza and spit my game. Massive red flag. A woman who's that hungry for attention, beware, guys. Just run away. It ain't worth it. I've tried it. It ain't worth it. And I eventually invited her out for pizza. And what did she say? It was I think 9 p.m. at the time, and she was like, "No, I want to dance to one more song. If she doesn't follow your lead, leave it. Just walk away." But I didn't walk away. I was dumb. And hey, she was looking bad though. Shorty was looking bad though. But at the same time, these red flags were massive. But I kept going. Invited out for pizza, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll pay for the taxi. You pay for you cover the pizza. She's like, no. And just even on the taxi ride as we were going, she would hint for me to come in, but she put her legs up as a barrier. So they were feeding breadcrumbing me little by little that, yeah, come along, you've got a chance. There was no chance. There never was a chance. Show my nice little pizza spot. She pays for the pizza, I pay for the taxi. We take a few pics together, we're vibing, we're chilling. They're getting my nice convo because I'm smooth with the convo, bro. Smooth with the convo. And I didn't make a move. Then end of the date, if I can even call it a date, I tried to make a move, and she's like, "No, I've got a boyfriend," and she's like, "I can twerk on you though." I'm like, "Nah, man, don't take breadcrumbs. Don't do it. It ain't worth it. Lead. You must lead, and they must follow your program." But hey, so I got my imp card again, got the stamp. It was officiated once more. And things kept going with this one on and off, hey, for like 3 freaking years, eh? I should have cut her off, but she just we kept chatting a lot, long conversations, like 3-hour long conversations on Zoom and Skype, and they're just eating up your attention. Just, feed me more, and doing nothing for you. And I think she was supposed to come to SA, but she clearly had multiple other boyfriends at the time and happily using me, and I never frank castled and moved on. So watching the Fresh and Fit, I just keep getting flashbacks of these moments, man. And I've been saying I wanted to make a YouTube video about this kind of stuff. And the third one is classic. So the third one is another lady I met in Japan, and I had a date, if I could call it a date. I think she arrived in Japan the week I was leaving, and I was like, "Oh, what a shame that you arrive as I'm leaving. I should really take you out." And I invited her on a trip to see the Rainbow Bridge. It is in an area called Odaiba. It's really stunning. If you can just Google Odaiba Rainbow Bridge, it is pretty cool. So I took her out there, and we're taking photos and vibing, and she was very like. She was with the program. She was with it. And also, I think my game was a bit smoother. I didn't make a move, though, because I wasn't on this rushed move kind of thing. But now I'm like, guys, first hour, make your move. Fail and fail quickly. And I think she was even wondering, like, yo, what's this dude's sort of plan? So that's when I got the third stamp on my SIMP card. And 2 years later, as I was in SA, she was coming to SA to sort of her best friend lives in SA as well, and her long lost cousin. And the conversation I had with her, I really had a prime example of all of the mistakes I was making came to fruition, and I could see it clearly with the things I'd say to her, where she very, very clearly dangled the opportunity uh, uh, of us linking up, but at the same time, she was using me, tooling me, properly priming me to give her more and for her to take more, but give nothing. And even with when I kind of put my foot down and I said, "Hey, is this a date or what?" She would really almost try shame me, like, "Oh, I can't believe you saw me in that way. Oh, all guys are the same. Oh." That's when you need to do your Frank Castle to full effect and cut them off, bro. Take an L, bro. Take an L sooner, rather sooner than later. It ain't worth it, bro. And the fact that I didn't, and playing this sort of recovery game is a fail. I don't play recovery game no more. No freaking more. And watch the Fresh and Fit podcast and see it. That don't stand up for yourself, and don't allow all this weird stuff to happen to you. So I end up thinking maybe I could impress her and show her a good time, and she might feel different about it. Epic red flag, epic fail, cancel. Don't ever do anything like that to yourself. So end up taking her around, and she then starts changing the plan. Like, no, I want to do this. No, take me here, take me there. And I wasn't leading, and she was refusing to let me lead. And it started getting worse and worse and worse. It almost got like embarrassing. People were staring at us like, wow, those two are completely effed up. And she wanted to see like lions, so I took her to the lion park, and then she has like an outburst at the lion park, like, no, I hate this, I don't like this. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Okay, I'll take you somewhere else. I ended up doing a road trip again. These things mirror each other, road trips to faraway places. And she smoked like a dragon, my goodness, smoking. And I'm like, why put yourself through abuse like this, eh? I don't even think I was thinking at that time, eh? I'll just cancel, man. Just Frank Castle, finish. It's cool. Let it happen. And at the end of her trip, I felt so used and just I wasn't happy with myself. And that's when I really dived into more of, this sort of content. Corey Wayne's content particularly. Steph is Cold, FitX Fearless, Alpha Male Strategies, and Fresh and Fit was also just blowing up at the time. And I saw how PUA on its own is not enough. And I'm very curious where this Sapphire tablet content is, going to evolve even further. And all this time and effort could have really been more on my purpose. But again, there's something deep in us that propels us to seek validation and family. And yeah, I like how I've started off with a rebuttal, 10 things I liked, and into story time. This is variety content. You get a bit of everything with me. So thank you so much for watching. If you made it through to the end, comment down below next interesting things you want me to do. But yeah, this was, Tuxedo Fit, and I'm out. Peace.